This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
We're going to do the Monster Mash. I'm interested to see if that becomes a dance in a nearby arena in Duluth here come this summer. We're going to talk Harbor Monsters doing that kind of Monster Mash.
We got to talk to them about a different touchdown dance than this.
Well, I'm sure they'll have several.
Yeah.
I want to know if the Monster Mash replaces the gritty, but I'm going to say no.
Maybe at kickoff.
Right. There you go. Maybe that should be the start to every game.
No.
I was going to say,
we're going to have to talk about this,
where does that
Brian.
compare to Welcome to the Jungle and Start Me Up? If we kick off with the Monster Mash, I don't know. The crowd might lose interest.
There would be a lot of people that went, what? So what are we going to do with the music guy now that they played that at kickoff? That
I was going to say,
question.
probably replace him would be the answer.
Exactly.
There is no replacing our sponsors. Dave Cook's going to tell you about them right now.
All right, our original sponsor, the one that kept the lights on when the lights were going down, Arola Architecture Studio, Hoops Brewing, OAR Holdings, Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Brian, that's your Carrier in northeastern Minnesota. Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Sammy's Pizza, the Blackwoods Group, including their locations on London Road, in Proctor, in Two Harbors, Blackwater right downtown, and Tavern on the Hill, Mountain Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's, Bike Sports and Trophies, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai. In fact, Brian, again, Kohler Hyundai, if you're looking for a vehicle, you buy a vehicle, 65-inch television comes along with it while supplies last.
I was going to say, closed circuit as a non-driver. If anybody needs a vehicle but not a TV, buy your vehicle at Kohler Hyundai, and then
give me a
I
call.
know where you can put the TV.
Right.
I'll give you my address.
Plus, many vehicles are at that 0% financing. So if you're looking for something like that, closed circuit to the boy, Aaron,
right?
It might be worth looking into that. Comfort Systems, the thing that everybody in Duluth has in common. You know, we got a lot of things in common. Pretty much everybody, the thing they have in common is they're part of Comfort Systems. And Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance.
So again, we are very grateful for all of our sponsors. They all have great general managers. And you know the mark of a good general manager, Dave Cook? Most of them let the guys on the front line do all the talking, because we have that happen here now too.
Brian, how many times have you and I talked about the best managers are the ones that realize if they're the smartest person in the room, they're in the wrong room? Right? So now we've got proof of that. The general manager of the Harbor Monsters understands that, hey, I need to be here, but I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room.
Absolutely. So during the break, I mentioned to start hour 2, Steve Walters, the GM of the Duluth Harbor Monsters, would be here. I'm not wrong. I can see him.
He's still here.
He's right to my right. He's in the studio. But he brought a guy who's spoken to us before and apparently liked us enough to do it again. As the Harbor Monsters head coach, Tony O'Neill, is with us. And Coach, it's very, very good to see you. I know we're getting closer to the season. Just how excited are you starting to get, my man? And welcome to the show. Welcome to the studio, in fact.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's great to be here. Excitement is an understatement. We have our tryouts coming up next week.
I was just going to say, let's talk about that a little bit, because there might be some folks out there that still have that dream of keeping a football career either alive or resurrecting one, and they have a chance to do that.
Yeah, this is the perfect opportunity, especially for our old high school stars who never got that shot to come on out. And if they're still lifting and still working out, this is your opportunity to come play for us.
Well, I noticed you mentioned if they're still lifting and still working out. What if you're not? What kind of intensity are you going to see? If somebody says,
surprise.
Well, and that's kind of my point. If somebody says, well, this team is brand new, this league is pretty new, I bet I can pick it up and go. What kind of shape are you expecting people to be in?
So this would kind of go to our first tryout while we do the dynamic warm up, because if you're on flat tires by the third,
you're weeding people out by the first hour.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Weeding themselves out actually. So we ask that you do come in condition and come ready, so you're not wasting anybody's time.
Absolutely. Speaking of not wasting time, I want to get to the who, what, when, where, why for the tryout. Tell everybody where to go and when to go.
That would be at the Proctor Complex.
Right.
February 2nd at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's actually open to the public as well.
I was just going to ask that.
I just want to be a mouse in the
I think
corner.
you and I should be at that.
Because I tell you what, the
Not trying out.
only football position I could play is mouse in the corner. I want to be one at that tryout. I think it'll be interesting. Go ahead.
Yes, when we say old offensive guard, we mean old.
Yes.
And broken now, I'll have to just step aside and let the younger guys.
I was going to say, your dream shattered when your meniscus did too.
Did too. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. No, what a great opportunity for those guys who still have that burn inside. And like you said, still working out, still doing some mask oxygen deprivation training and are ready to go. And so next week could be the beginning of that next chapter for them.
That's correct. We're looking to actually finalize our roster after this next tryout. So we're definitely taking this very serious.
I was going to say that puts things in kind of a high gear perspective. Yeah. Where are we in terms of being in high gear towards the season? I know a big step of finalizing the roster. If that happens at the end of a tryout in February, that gives you, 2+ months till that first preseason game. But, where are you in terms of preparation? You got a playbook swimming in your head already? Where are you at this point?
Yeah, playbook's already created and on our board at the office. Players in mind are already considered. We just want to see the big fish in a bigger pond versus the little pond that was the first tryout.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about the type of football that people should expect to see. And I want to talk about it in terms of, adopting your style, adopting your attitude, and the way that you play the game. But before we do that, there's some differences from traditional football in this league in general. Talk a little bit about what the football is actually going to look like in terms of rules and regulations.
Correct. You can kind of get a sense and an idea of it right now if you were to Google 6 versus 6 flag football at the tournament style play, at the national play. Just consider that, but at full contact in a very smaller space, which is be way more violent. I think the trickery plays will be more deceiving.
Nice. The gotcha plays, as we like to put it. Yeah.
Very high scoring, fast paced, 20-second play clock. I mean, we're looking to put up 80 to 100 points per game.
Oh, wow.
Yep. We're going to have some NBA over-unders on Harbor Monsters football. I like it. Yep. So Dave likes to talk about this. I'm going to steal his thunder a little bit. He always says that, new and local teams do better when they have local elements to the roster.
To walk in. So
you guys didn't waste any time.
Anyway, yeah.
I know you coach at Denfeld. I've been the PA announcer at East for 12 years. So I had all of Derek Daniels' career. Correct. I was so excited to see him be part of this team.
Yeah, Derek has never stopped working out. He's been with I Can, I Will with Dre Sherrill, who is his personal trainer. He trains a lot of East kids, as well as our own Denfeld kids. Tay Mans is with him as well right now, currently. But yeah, we want the local talent. Like, that's really big. If we can sign somebody from Denfeld, somebody from Superior.
I was going to say, are you chirping at Tay and go, hey, I know college football is next, but when you're done, we're going to be ready for you in the summer.
We want Tay to go the distance, man. Yeah. He's going to be the next big thing out of this area, just like Coy.
I've been saying that for 2 years, Brian.
Absolutely. Coy Parrish, Tay Mans, the two best players in this area. The drop off to number 3, with all due respect, pretty big.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I'm gonna say it. I'll say it in the fall. I'll say it now. If you want to see the next real running back from our area, he's playing in Denfeld next year.
That's correct.
Absolutely is. So speaking of what you want to see in these tryouts, what are you looking for? Are you looking for 4.40s? Are you looking for good hands? Are you looking for big build? All of the above. What are you seeking in these potential athletes for you?
We're looking for athletic players who can move in space, that can show violence, can maintain their responsibility, high IQ players. Of course, we want fast and speed demons. I mean, that's only a plus, but they got to be able to break down and know how to slow the motor down and move in space.
Coach, you got a quarterback already?
We have one.
Dave, are you interested the way you asked that question?
No, the arm is gone.
Yeah, right?
So we have one signed, but I like to apply pressure to our guys.
Good.
So we also have AF1 quarterback coming from the Orlando Predators that's going to challenge him this Friday.
Very cool.
Coming up, who's also wanting to make the roster. So it's going to be an exciting day.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I was going to say, it sounds like the whole season, the crescendo of excitement just continues to build. Talking with head coach Tony O'Neill. Tony, I have to ask you this. When you look at this league in general, I know I'm probably a little bit older than you, but how cool is it to have Tim Brown in charge of it? Because I look at Tim Brown and his football resume. We've had him on the show once. I know it was just by phone, so he couldn't see me, but my eyes were about as big as saucers because I'm chatting with Tim Brown. Oh, yeah. Pretty cool concept in general.
It is. It's a great concept. I mean, to have somebody like that in place who's overseeing the games, who can go back and watch the games by film, and actually say, hey, I think I have somebody here. Let's try them out on your practice squad is huge. It's a way into the next step, the next level.
Yeah, no question about it. The bigger names you get behind the league, the bigger the league is going to get. I have to go back to something that you mentioned in a previous answer because you talked about looking for athletes that can show violence. But then at the same token, you said you could see 80 to 100 points in a football game. What if there's an athlete out there that defense is their calling card? How do you convince defensive-minded players to play in a league that can expect to see 80 to 100 points a game?
I think any defensive player who likes to hit people and get paid for it is going to want to play, regardless of the situation. And
that's the mindset, right?
Yep.
Well, does that become the difference? Because the old adage is defense wins championships. If you have a serviceable one in a league that's going to be known for offense, are you going to be the difference makers?
Well, that's why I'm taking on the defense coordinator role. I like challenges.
Nice. We got a modern-day Mike Zimmer. A much younger version.
Much younger.
Maybe the game hasn't passed Tony by just yet.
I got a quick question for you, Tony. We were teasing general manager here a minute ago about not being the smartest guy in the room and surrounding himself with success, right?
That's what I've done in this room right now, but go ahead.
Well, but I'm here too, Brian. You got to put that in perspective.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So, Coach, how about your coaching staff? What kind of guys you got? You know, is this also, we're talking about a breeding ground for players. Are you looking at this as a breeding ground for coaches too?
Actually,
starting your own tree.
Actually, I have my guys in mind. I've known them since 2015. We played college ball together. He was our quarterback at the time. He's our offensive coordinator, junior. Very, very smart individual. Coaches at ESCO now. Cool. He got to coach Coy as a DB and move around. So
he knows a thing or two about defense in this high flying league.
Yes, he does. More so offense though, as he's a quarterback. So a lot of combination routes are going to be thrown out at us. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. So a lot of the coaches that get respect at any level are the guys that you quote run through a wall for.
Correct.
And it's usually because it looks like they could still play the game. As you're doing these tryouts and starting to coach, how much of the itch are you getting? Because you don't exactly look like a non-athletic guy at this moment. How much of you says, if I could go, I would?
Yeah, I would love nothing more than to play in front of my family and friends who haven't got to see me play in a very long time. But I know my limits, and I'm 40 pounds heavier than I used to be. So
you and me both.
Yeah, kind of happens with age. Yep. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the coaching aspect and what this team and what this opportunity that I was given by Steve and Brent to move forward and see what else happens.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that because what's the excitement been like away from football? Because I feel like in my travels, the community is getting excited about the concept of what this is going to be and what's it going to do to Duluth Superior in general.
Yeah, they are. I'm losing sleep. I can't lie. I mean, I'm on emails and phone calls 3 o'clock in the morning with guys from Cali that are wanting to come out and players from the cities and players that are local still.
Right.
Just wanting to know every nook and cranny of what this league is going to bring and what they need to do to make the team. So the excitement is very real.
So because this league is different, it can be difficult to create ideas or steal ideas from other coaches, I assume. But the last time we had you, Denfeld was right in the thick of the playoffs.
Correct.
And you talked a lot about Coach Lofald, et cetera. Have you picked his brain for this league at all or no?
I haven't actually yet. We were talking in the season, but it was hard not to be distracted. I didn't want to be a distraction at that point. Of course, I would always go to Lofald as a mentor, as well as Matt Allen and the rest of the crew.
Right.
But as of right now, with it being so different, the only thing I could actually honestly ask him would be just from a head coaching perspective, what I can expect or what
about culture, probably.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So with all the differences, what's the biggest one to you that when you're familiarizing with the way this league is played that you go, wow, I've never seen football in this method before? So
the great thing about this is that I play on a 6-versus-6 flag team now, and we just won the championship. So
nice.
I'm kind of well.
How much does that help your recruiting comments? By the way, I've done this at a high level.
Yeah, it's fun because we play at the national level too. You can go down to Florida and play against other teams from everywhere. But it's helped because I kind of know the guys that I'm looking for and what to look for. Obviously, we're not looking for the normal offensive lineman or the normal center because the center needs to be able to run 15-yard routes, post, and drags.
I was going to say, you got tight ends playing center, basically?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much so.
Yeah.
Tight ends and fullbacks are what we were looking for. I even contacted the UMD's head coach, Coach Weezy, to see about his players that are leaving the school, and he's putting me in contact with guys as well.
Well, that's a good point because that's what I was going to ask as well in terms of, what age bracket, what level of talent are you looking for? Because you're not looking for Al Bundy, Pokai, class of 66, 4 touchdowns in one game kind of guy. But you are looking for the decent high school and college player that maybe the next level wasn't a choice or wasn't thought of, and giving them an alternate option?
So I'm not taking anything off the table from anybody. If you can come out and you can run and ball with us, by all means. I'm not asking your age at the tryout. Or that's the last thing we're looking at. We're looking at your movement, your flexibility, your hip rotation, your hip mobility, to see if you can come out and ball with the big boys.
What about special teams? What kind of concept does that have in this league? Because there are a lot of guys that aren't quote-unquote skill players that make their hay as a special teams player. With this type of league, what does a special teams look like if there is one?
There is none.
Okay.
That's the great thing about it. There's no special teams. We're not looking for a kicker, punter, or any of that.
Oh.
Wow. So Green Bay fans would be pumped right now, and Vikings fans could be pumped for life because there can't be any kickers that we can blame anything on. So let's go back to the tryout because that is coming up. Again, the who, what, when, where, why. There's got to be somebody out there going, I want in on this. Tell them how.
You can sign up at DuluthMonsters.com for the registration. I think the registration fee is $35.
Okay.
We are actually looking to sign guys. This isn't a hoax for funding. There's 13 spots available right now to be made, and then there's 6 reserve spots that we're looking for as well.
And you mentioned funding. There's got to be people out there going, I want to support this team. How can they do that as well?
They can get a hold of my general manager.
I was going to say, the gentleman to my right all of a sudden wanted a piece of the microphone. You could have slid in if you wanted, by the way. There's got to be people that want to support the team in general. That's more your baby. How would you tell them to do that?
Right, well, absolutely. Well, for starters, on our website, there is a place that you can click to say, it's contact us. But if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, my email is just steve@duluthmonsters.com, same as our website. I'd be glad to talk to anybody. One of the sponsors you just said, Blackwoods, they just jumped on board, so we're very excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah. We're adding new partners all the time because of what you just said. There is so much excitement in this whole entire area, whether it be up over the hill, Iron Range, all over Superior, everywhere in the Twin Ports area. Everyone is jacked about this, and we're just as excited to add as many people to this family as possible.
I was going to say, this appearance by you guys, I think, made us doubly as excited. I'm looking at all the apparel, and you guys got some good stuff there, too. Thank you for stopping by. We will talk again, certainly. Good luck as the season progresses. Good luck with the tryouts as well.
Thank you.
You might see us pop by, but again, you don't want us trying out for anything.
No.
But it's been fun. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Steve. Duluth Harbor Monsters coming at you. We're coming back in a bit.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Around. We are back on the Northland Sports Page. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. No, it's not the sound of silence because we're talking about the Vikings. When you hear "Hello, Darkness, my old friend," that's where I go quickly.
Right? No, this. We were talking about this before, Brian. This song, if it's not the best cover of all time, it's in that top group of 4 or 5.
Right, absolutely. Disturbed doing the sound of silence. As for the second week in a row, we're going to talk some college dance team in this segment. And for the second week in a row, Dave Cook, we bump in with a team's song of choice for their routine. But I think we can say the same. We hear these songs and we don't think about busting out of our seat and starting to dance.
Right. No, 100%. And in fact, you said, what song do you think it is that you might not think it is? And I said, "Hurt" by Johnny Cash. And you said, no, but you're in the right
kind of cut
world.
from the same cloth, without question. So last week, we talked to dancer Aubrey Lesty from the national champion Minnesota Golden Gophers. We talked a little bit about what do coaches do for teams and what we thought would be a good solution to figuring that out. Not that Aubrey didn't give a good answer, because she did, but why not talk to a local coach as well?
Yeah, and the success level that we are having in our state in national level dance is amazing. So let's go to the source, Brian.
Absolutely. We go to UMD head coach Alli Mackner. Alli, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being back with us. The joy of having you back means national competition success again. Fill everybody in on how the Dogs did this year.
Yeah, so we competed 2 weeks ago at Nationals in Orlando, Florida, and we came home with a second place in jazz, which is incredible, and a third place in pom for the open category.
That was excellent. I did watch one of the routines, which is why we chose your bumper music of Sound of Silence from Disturbed. Tell us what goes into the musical selections, because, again, Minnesota had Dream On. You guys do Sound of Silence. Not exactly, let's just call them bangers or boogie songs if you really want to be on the dance floor.
We could let them use our intro.
But you guys did a great job, obviously. But I'm told from a lot of schools that songs are chosen months in advance. What goes into that piece?
Yeah, so we start looking at music. I mean, right now we're looking at music for next year, and we're trying to figure out what the vibe is for the team. And obviously our team is not set for next season, but we start thinking of like, okay, what range do we want to go? Do we want to do a more contemporary, softer piece? Do we want to do something more lyrical, more jazz, more dark? There's so many different ways we can take a song, which is really cool. Our Sound of Silence actually wasn't picked out. It wasn't our first choice right away. Like, we had other ones that were sitting there. And our captains actually came to us as coaches and were like, we really love this song. We think it would be great for our team. And we're like, yeah, we love having the team's input, and it's a we project. We, are all in this together. So when we're picking that music, it's not just what the coaches like. It's what is the team, what is going to get the judges involved, what is the audience going to like, because it has to read across all the, levels there. So we need to just pick a song that we can dance to, too.
Right, and you gave me a great segue. In fact, you almost answered my next question, because I was going to say, what input goes into that? Because I had seen on social media that in the case of LSU, they found out as a team that they were doing Smooth Criminal, which led me to believe that's a coach's selection. But what you say is your team has plenty of input, correct?
Yeah, every team is very different. I know some choreographers, depending on who you hire, definitely they want to be able to like the song that they're choreographing to, which is a huge, huge part of a team's success too. Like, as a choreographer myself too, if I'm choreographing to a song that I don't like, it's really hard to give the best quality of movement. So for us, our jazz choreographers are actually high school coaches in Minnesota. Annie Lindbergh, who coaches Wyzetta, and Grace Gilbertson, who is one of the head coaches for Eastview. And they are both very well known in the state of Minnesota. And so we ask their input as a lot too, of like figuring out, okay, what do you guys think? Do you think this is the right path for us? And ask them as well. So it definitely is not just us coaches picking it. We definitely have the final say. We're not going to let them, go too crazy, but usually we can get talked into just about anything with, if they have some good reasoning behind it.
That's a fair point. We're chatting with Alli Mackner, the coach of the UMD dance team. Coach, I want to ask you this for the sake of our listeners, because you're going to look at me and say, well, Brian, you know the answer to this because your family does it. But tell me what a dance team coach does. What's the biggest challenge that you're faced with? Because in games in different sports, we talk about substitutions, timeouts, injuries, etc. With dance team, once they're out there, there's nothing you can do for them. Talk about what your challenges truly are.
Well, I think, you can't substitute a player, during a performance. You have 2 minutes out there on that floor. So yes, dancers get injured. They are going to have days that they are so sick and that we need to maybe put somebody else in their spot. It depends on how close, crunch time comes to things. But if somebody has to get pulled out for whatever reason, that we usually go, okay, this person could take, player A's spot, but player A needs to be now moved to player B's spot. And there's a lot of pieces in this, game of dance. It's like moving one chess piece at a time. Everybody can only do certain things. So there's a lot of acro skills. There's a lot of, leg parts or a lot of turns or jumps. And not often is everybody, can be plugged into each thing. So we might have to either adjust the choreography or move multiple people around. And we have to do that all the time. We're just, we're always prepared for the shoe to drop of like, okay, what will it be this year? What are we going to do? We do feel like we prepared this year very, very well of just being on top of everything and just like doing our very best to like have the best dancers out there. And some girls are on the sideline, and they're also a big important piece of the puzzle. They have to be there cheering for their teammates. They have to, they're working just as hard, even though that they might not be on the floor. Like those sideline guys that in a football game, like, yeah, they're cheering for their team when they make a big play, but that's not for 2 minutes straight, constantly cheering and supporting the girls.
That's very fair, Dave. That question always fascinates me because we can look at the end of a basketball game, at the end of a football game, at the end of a hockey game, even a baseball game to a certain extent, and we can say, well, so-and-so got out-coached in the game. In dance, you can't say that because once a coach says, okay, your performance time is now, the coach has to be completely hands off.
Yeah. So my question, Coach, has a lot, actually dovetails with your answer a minute ago real well. So you said you got some kids that aren't coming back. You're going to have a different team. How do you recruit for dance? And so I guess what I mean is we talked to the head coach of the Harbor Monsters a minute ago, and he said, when he's looking for a quarterback, he's looking for this, or when he's trying to get in an offensive lineman, it's not really an offensive lineman, it's a different position. When you're out recruiting, what kind of things do you look for?
That is a great question. The one thing, though, I hate about the word recruiting, it usually means that there's money involved. And now at the, club sport level for University of Minnesota Duluth, we don't have that option to say, here, we're going to pay for your tuition, unfortunately. But we technically use the word like scouting of I want to offer you a position. We can't really we're not in that spot right now. So we still hold tryouts for our current team. So we'll set the date and it will be announced here in a couple of weeks of when our upcoming tryout is. But that doesn't mean we don't know multiple people in the state of Minnesota. As a former high school coach, as somebody who works, with high school teams all around the state, we know our kids. They're coming to clinics, they're introducing themselves to us because they are I want to be a part of your team, which is awesome. And so we know a large group that is coming in next year of, what they're good at. We've been in contact with their coaches. And every coach always asks me the same question: what can I do to help them? And what are you looking for? And I always say, we're never looking for we're not looking for the best answer. We're looking for the right one, because you gotta be a team player. You have to just be that part we're missing, and we need to have you fit into that puzzle piece. And every year it's a little different. Every year we're working on increasing, our technique and our skill wise, which everybody is across the board. But we also need somebody who's that motivated person, who's going to be still a really good teammate when they're not in that routine, because it's a lot harder to do in a dance compared to it is on a hockey team. It is on a football team. You can't just be okay, you're getting pulled out for goalie. That goalie knows that. He's oh yeah, I let 5 goals in. It's plain as day. I knew I had to get pulled out. But as dancers, they're wait, I just performed at a basketball game and I wasn't good enough. And I'm yeah, I'm sorry, you weren't performing. You maybe were a little slow on timing and, the stamina isn't there. So there's a lot of things that go into finding that right dancer. We just want them. The biggest thing is to have a really positive attitude and feel confident.
I would agree with that. I think the subjective nature, again, I'll use the term fascinating, because the more I learn about this sport, and Alli, I've been learning about it pretty much since I could, say the alphabet. Dance has been part of my life with the family I grew up in, but you never stop learning with this sport. And I love that you said scouting, because one of the places that I would think you'd be able to scout are various dancers who are in studio dance. And you're, of course, involved in that as well and have a deep history with that. 2 questions. How many studio dancers end up becoming dance teamers? And what's the toughest transition if somebody's been really, really good at one and wants to do the other?
Well, there's not really a solid number answer I can give you for that one. But I feel a lot of people, it used to be dance team kids went to college dance team. That's not the case anymore. And I am a big supporter of, I run Just for Kicks in Duluth here, and I used to coach high school dance team. I am a big supporter of doing both if you can. If you're able, if grades are there, if you can handle that load of work, balance school, I'm a big supporter of that, because I think you learn valuable things from both different things. And just being in that college level, yeah, we're training, we're lifting, we're doing, technique and flexibility stuff that we do at studio, and acro skills. Dance team in the state of Minnesota, acro skills are very limited to what's allowed in the MSHSL. So for us, we want them in both. We want a well-rounded dancer. So I don't look at, if they're just in studio. Like some of my best kids have been from studio. Some of my best kids have been from dance teams. Some do both, and it's great. So, I just kind of, I love supporting all of them at studio competitions and high school dance team competitions. I'm at a dance competition actually today with my studio in Rocori. So I get to watch today and see a ton of talent and, go up and meet people and introduce myself, which is super fun. And some people get a little nervous and they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I just thought you did really great, and just introducing myself to them is super fun.
Absolutely is competition season. In fact, little side note for you, Alli, my sister wanted to tune in and hear your segment today, but she is competing today too. So dancers are busy and not always able to make time to catch everything they want to. We appreciate you making time for us. Dave, I know you have more.
I have a question that we ask almost every coach that we get in, and that is the difference between an athlete who is focused on a sport or one that does multiple sports. What's your take on dancers that might play other sports? Does that help? Is it something that you would encourage? What's your take?
I think it's awesome if you can be a multiple sport athlete as long as your muscle groups are, even, and the flexibility. So a lot of sports don't focus on that flexibility part. And so as long as I've had kids that play tennis, I've had kids that do swimming, and, as long as they're still focused on those, flexibility, their flexibility and their strength, as long as they're even, I am all for it. Some kids can manage. Some kids are like, you know what, I just want to focus. I was one. I went from playing tennis to just doing dance. And for me, that's what I wanted to do with my life. I put all my eggs in one basket. So I didn't really have a backup. Some people like to have multiple options. Some people do multiple sports. When I wasn't coaching UMD and I was a member of the team, we had a dancer who also ran track for UMD, which is incredible that she was able to do both. And we made it work as best as we could, too.
That's outstanding. Alli Mackner, the head coach of UMD dance team. Coach, what Minnesota is doing for this sport at the college level specifically is simply off the charts. Between you guys, Minnesota, Mankato, a St. Ben's, a St. Thomas, St. Cloud. I feel like I'm probably forgetting somebody because the success knows no bounds. I'm going to ask you a question that is pretty much tongue-in-cheek, but hear me out. So I know that everybody prefers going to Florida in January from up here. I get it. But being that, this is the state of hockey and today's hockey day, and there's hockey being played all over Minnesota, is there any part of you that thinks national dance team competition should be in Minnesota because this is the Mecca where everybody's great?
I think that would be really great. I also don't think working on a dance for longer than 6 months, I think I could do. So, because we start learning our routines in September for a lot of our college teams. So I do love the state of hockey and giving them, the recognition. But yeah, dance is up there, and I also would love a venue that was big enough to fit us all. I don't know if there would be one that could handle that many floors. So ESPN Sports Center at Disney, it does a pretty great job, at least of holding all of us for the time being.
I was going to say, I think we need US Bank Stadium to be ready to sign up, don't we?
Yeah, we need a whole convention center, I think, put together with multiple floors there. I think they could make it work, right?
I think if we put our minds to it and you consider the success that this state is showing everybody, somebody needs to start to put their mind to it. So, Alli, I want to close with this because you started to talk about it a little bit with the flexibility piece, and you mentioned lifting, all that good stuff. When we talk to coaches of different sports, they'll say, do more running, do more swimming, hit the weight room, do this, that, and the other thing in the off season to have a better following season. Is it simply keep dancing? Is it, I'm going to go out on a limb here because I'm the least flexible guy ever. Is it yoga? Is it aerobics? Dance really has no off season, but if it did per se, what do you tell a potential dancer to be doing?
We just say keep your body moving. If it's yoga, a lot of our girls went to Yoga Sculpt. One of our my co-head coach, Caitlin Lundquist, she also teaches yoga. So they go take her classes, which is great too. And we just, make it work the best we can for them. And, moving is great and just having that positive mindset.
I agree with that. You keep saying we make it work as best we can. Your best has been pretty damn good, Alli Mackner. Great season for the team again. I've never had a bad time talking to you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. That is UMD dance team coach Alli Mackner. They just keep dancing the music and doing it well.
Isn't it just amazing how our region can be so nationally recognized at a sport? It's really cool.
It is a lot of fun. The most nationally recognized sport is probably the National Football League. We'll break it down a little bit further to close the show. Mr. Venice Glenn is next. Stick around.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Be right back. It's the safety dance. Time to once again talk to our favorite safety of all time. Mr. Venice Glenn is with us. It's all part of Drawing Lines, courtesy of Arola Architecture Studio. He is the original of our great sponsors. Here is the rest as well, Mr. Dave Cook.
Hoops Brewing, OAR Holdings, Krause Heating and Cooling, your carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Sammy's Pizza, the Blackwoods Group, including their locations, Tavern on the Hill, which is, we'll probably be spending some money there today, Brian.
I would say odds are good for me as well.
Tavern on the Hill, Blackwater, Two Harbors location, Proctor location, and the Blackwoods on London Road. Mountain Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, where, again, if you pick up a car, you can pick up a 65-inch TV as long as they are still in stock.
Exactly. And if you need a new vehicle but don't think you need a new TV, remember the non-drivers in your life.
Comfort Systems of Duluth and Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance.
So grateful for all of them. So grateful for Venice Glenn in a big, big way. He's back again. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Very good. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm marvelous and happy.
That's what we love about you now. It's conference championship weekend, or basically conference championship Sunday tomorrow. The Niners are there. The Lions are there in the NFC. Chiefs and Ravens in the AFC. You've been sold on Baltimore and San Francisco, the top seeds, for most of this. I'm just going to start with that. Is that what we see? Do these two number ones advance?
Man, you got four very good football teams, and I can't predict the games. I wish I could at this point in time, but it's the one that makes the fewest mistakes and gives us the least biggest plays. And I think both games are going to be very physical. But here's the one thing I'm worried about in the Chiefs and the Ravens game. I don't trust the league, and I don't trust the refs. I'm going to be honest, man. I just the way they call things, and especially in close games, man, they miss a lot of calls, these refs.
Yeah.
And it will affect things. And people, because I hate to say this, football is not football really anymore. It's football, but it's entertainment. And they really look for the entertainment edge. And I know that with the Swifties and things that's going on,
yes,
man, they get a lot more. Mahomes gets a lot more call breaks than a lot of other quarterbacks in the league. He's earned it, but he's also, still part of the league and should get the same amount of fairness throughout the league. So I'm really concerned about that. And as a former player, I mean, that's something that's happening and it's noticeable. But other than that, you got the four best football teams in the league going at it. So defense wins championships. I'll just say that.
I'll tell you this. I am so glad you went down the road that you did, because I wanted to bring it up and I was treading carefully thinking, well, what if he thinks the exact opposite of me on this and I'll never hear the end of it? But I am so with you on this, because I think the league wants, first of all, Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. Love it or hate it, I think the league would like it. But I also think if Kansas City advances, you've got probably the best quarterback in football right now, probably among the top 5 of all time already. I think the best position player, if you will, not counting quarterbacks in the league, is probably Christian McCaffrey. And then you just look at the entertainment value. I'm with you. I hate when people say sports are rigged. We might see that tomorrow.
Gosh, Brian, it sounds like you are advocating for the WWE. So
I do love movies. I've said that before.
That's my point.
Yep.
So my point is, you guys are kind of saying that, indeed, maybe we are looking at a professional league that's also making movies. But I agree with Vincey on the fact that it just feels like if everything's equal, if they can get Kansas City there because of the Swifties, that dislike it if you want, it's going to draw additional eyes.
I was going to say, I'll say this. It does what it does, and I'm fine with it. I laugh hard at people that are just, if I have to look at Taylor Swift one more time, I'm turning this off. It shouldn't bother you to that level ever. I just get an eyebrow raise out of it because what impact is it having?
I'm getting close.
You're getting close?
I'm getting close. I'm telling you, man, it's just every play is to the press box. You know what I'm saying? They don't even show the announcers of the game as much as they show them in the press boxes.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to ask you this about the Niners because they didn't play very well last weekend. Green Bay, for the most part, did, and people have said Green Bay should have won that game, and frankly, I agree. I'm thrilled and relieved that they didn't, but they probably should have. But the reason that I think the Niners win tomorrow, they have less of a rigged idea to it, I guess. I just really like Kyle Shanahan, and things didn't go very well last week. You give him a week to right the ship, and you give him what sounds like Deebo Samuel back. I know the Lions are a great story and a very good football team. I just don't see them holding up enough.
Well, here's the reality of that. If you look at the 4 teams, 3 of the 4 teams are physical. They love running the ball, and they play defense. Period. End of conversation. That's football. That's championship football. So you have the Chiefs left over here. They play good football, but their quarterback has to ad-lib for them to play good football.
Correct.
That's why he's never under center. They do a lot of motion and this direction and stuff to try to get the defenses off to create holes and mismatches. But they're not just go out and physical football team. You know what I'm saying? They have good players, good athletes out there, but they're not that, hey, let's hit you in the mouth. Baltimore Ravens, bro, they playing with a chip on their shoulder.
I agree.
And Lamar Jackson is playing with, he's already done lost to them. He's before in big games. So he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, and that team is desperate because the way they play as a team and love each other. And like I said, if the ref gives them a fair chance, I think that Baltimore is going to put the dogs on. But the other 3 teams are all physical. They love to run the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you mentioned Baltimore. That's the coaching matchup I want to see in the Super Bowl. I want to see John Harbaugh and Shanahan. Dan Campbell's fun. I just don't know. But I'll tell you what, this is maybe the first Final Four, if you will, in a while, where I can pick one way and say I prefer one way, but if the other happens, I'm over it. This isn't a team where I go, God, they won.
Doesn't this strike you as a game where a coach like Dan Campbell can absolutely step his team up because of the emotion that he brings?
I feel the emotion that he brings is either going to win the game for him or lose it badly.
100% agree.
I agree 100%.
Vance, I got a question for you about Mahomes. I was talking to a guy the other day. We were visiting about the different quarterbacks, and he insists on calling Mahomes a running quarterback. Now, Mahomes can move around a little bit, but isn't he more like a Fran Tarkington than a runner? And is there any kind of quarterback you played against that strikes you as similar?
Randall Cunningham could run. I'm just trying to quick. Here's the thing about running. It's not the running. It's that they create extra 2-3 seconds for great wide receivers to get over.
Oh yeah.
And if you can turn upfield because the defense has the back to you, because the secondary is covering guys, and once you get past the 2 yards upfield, the interior line, it's open space. So you got room to go run for 7 more yards and slide and all that. But if everybody's out in coverage, especially in man situations, he's going to keep running. That's just anybody. And that's what they call a running quarterback. So Mahomes got great because he ran, but he could also create angles with his throw because of his sidearm and his baseball background. If you watch last week, quarterback for Josh Allen made a great underhand throw to the corner front of the end zone to the little receiver Shike, or what is it, number 10. Mm-hmm. So these guys can make those throws, so they learn how to create angles. Just like watch Lamar Jackson. He creates angles with something. He threw a great touchdown last week by creating a side-on angle he threw from the hip. And so that's what Mahomes and those guys have brought to the game. And they're fast and they're athletes. They play sports. They stole second base. They did things like that. So it gives them an extra advantage other than a quarterback that runs a 4.7 or 4.8. And so they say they're running quarterbacks. No, they run when it's available. Why you think they slide? If they were running quarterbacks, they take on the hit and keep running. No, they just run the ball till they say, hey, I can't get no more. I get out of bounds and slide.
That's absolutely correct. I want to close with this. I want to move from the AFC game that has two quote-unquote running quarterbacks, or at least mobile quarterbacks, to the NFC game that really doesn't. I don't think anybody puts Brock Purdy or Jared Goff into the most nimble of quarterbacks. But I want to talk specifically to you, Vency, about Goff. And Dave and I had this discussion a few segments ago. Years ago, when we first met you in person, Jared Goff was in a Super Bowl with the Rams and got beat by New England. A win tomorrow and Jared Goff is back in the Super Bowl. That's two in a relatively short window. Do you think he's underrated, or is he riding very good personnel otherwise? Because to me, it's a little bit of both.
No, I think he was a first-round draft choice, right?
Yes.
Okay. He went to a team. They got to the Super Bowl. They didn't win. And somewhere along the way, he lost his confidence. Period. You're not a first-round draft choice because you ain't no good, okay? And when he got to the Super Bowl, they were like, oh, yeah, this dude is on. And guys lose confidence. That's why every year you have to find ways to get better. He lost confidence. He came over to Detroit in the trade, and all of a sudden, you got the right coach, you got the right defense, you got the right attitude in the locker room. They built that attitude in the locker room. A couple of years ago, they were garbage.
Right.
And he was the missing piece, and they built that attitude with Campbell and all because he's a player. He made guys be accountable. He made guys like each other in the locker room. He made guys want to be leaders on the team. Swift, and when Swift was there, he was, hey, you're a leader on the team. Let's go. Let's build it. And they built it from scratch. And everybody's been against them. Everybody's talking about history, what they ain't done in so many years, blah, 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 blah. So they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, and they're adamant about it. They can beat San Francisco because if Brock Purdy gets a little rattle and stuff, we've seen him not have good games. He's never been in that situation before.
Right.
So how the whole team handles it, I don't care how great of a coach you got. Remember this, and I'll say this till the day I die. Coaches coach, players play in the conversation.
Absolutely. That's the end of our conversation. I'll tell you this, Venice Glenn, your takes will never be underrated. They are outstanding. We love you once again. Let's talk next week. Hype Week. See who's in the Super Bowl.
Thanks, Venice.
I'll text you tonight. Trust me.
That sounds good. I will talk to you sooner than later. We appreciate you. Have a good one.
All right, you too, pal. Take care.
All right. Thank you to our listeners, our sponsors. Our guest today was a good one. Dave Hoops, Tony O'Neill, Steve Walters, Alli, Mackner, Venice Glenn. Have a good weekend, Northland. We'll see you next Saturday. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Brian. Bye.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.